Hello everyone, welcome to Java Full Stack course with Spring Boot and Angular 17. Yes guys, in this course I will teach you Spring Boot and Angular 17 from scratch. That means if you don't know anything about Angular 17 and Spring Boot, still you can grab this course and start learning because I will explain each and everything from scratch. Okay? So end of this course guys, you have this Java full stack project ready for your portfolio and resume. So I will show you this demo of this project, but first let's check what are the technologies we are going to use in this project. So guys, as you can see here, we are going to use Angular 17. Okay, it's the latest version of the Angular. Also we will use Angular material as a component library and Tailwind CSS for a CSS. Also we'll use so guys, these are for the front end, and if I talk about backend, then in the backend we are going to use Spring Boot latest version. Okay, then Spring Security for the authentication part, and MySQL as a database, and JWT token. So these are the technologies guys we are going to use in our project. And now what are the prerequisites for starting this course? So guys, you should know basic Java and basic JavaScript. I'm not saying that you must you must know advanced Java and advanced JavaScript, but just you have the knowledge about basic Java and basic JavaScript. So that's it for this course prerequisite. And now let's go to our project and let's see the demo. Okay, so here you can see I am logged in with the RAM account, so I'm gonna log out first. So when I click on logout button, you can see I am redirected to here, and from here you can sign up, and when clicking on sign in button you can sign in from here. Okay, so guys, see this animation, how it's looking much better. Okay, so now let me sign up. Okay, so I will sign up with Pablo. Okay, here I will give pablo@gmail.com, and I will give here dummy password. And when I click on register, you can see I'm logged in with Pablo's account. Actually sign up with Pablo's account. Okay, and also you can sign in as I show you that. Okay, but now let's create any new recipe. So guys, you can see here plus icon. Okay, by clicking on that plus icon you can create new recipe. So here you need to give a title, so let me give burger. Also you need to give here a description, so let's give a description, nice burger, or maybe let's grab some description from here, burger, true line quotes. Okay, let's click on more item, and from here I will copy this, and I will go to here, I will paste here description, wage, and here we need to guys give image URL. So let me search one image for pixel. Okay, and here I will give food. So what I'm gonna do is, let me grab this image, copy image address, and let's go to here, let's paste this, click on create. You can see our burger is created with Pablo name. Okay, and even if I refresh, it won't go on now because this is created in our database. Also you can delete this as well by clicking on this. Okay, so see, it's deleted. Now let me create it again. So I will go to here. This time let me grab this image, copy image address, and let's go to here, give here title, burger, description. I need to, sorry, here this is image address. Let's grab some description from here and paste it over here. Then vegetarian, create. Okay, I have created I guess 4 recipe with the same name and with the same description. Now what I'm gonna do is I will edit this. So just click on edit button and grab any other image. So let me copy this image address. Let's go to here and paste this. Click on update. Now close. Okay, image is not appear. Now let me copy this image address again and let me paste it this image. Okay, let's update, and you can see our recipe is updated. Even if I refresh, it won't change because it's updated in our database. All right, so guys, you can like any recipe you want. So like this, you can see I can like any of this recipe, and when I refresh, you can see still like won't go on because it changes in our database. All right guys, so you have see all the CRUD operation. First, create new recipe, edit recipe, delete recipe, like recipe. Okay, also by clicking here you can share on any or your social media application. Like when I click on WhatsApp, open WhatsApp, I don't want to open. Let's click on Twitter. Okay, so here you can share your recipe as well. All right, and now let me go back. Yeah guys, so that's the demo of our application, and again by clicking on this button you can log out, and here also you can sign in. Like let me give here ram@gmail.com and password, login. You can see I am logged in with Ram's account. All right guys, so that's it for this demo. Now let's start to implement our project. All right guys, now let's create our Spring Boot project. So let's go to springinitializer.io and create our Spring Boot project. Here we'll choose Maven and Java version 3.2.0. Then we need to give a group name. So let's give it com.jos. Artifact ID I will give recipe sharing YouTube. Okay, so that's gonna be artifact ID. Then name will be same. Then description, let's give here share your favorite recipe. Then package name will be only com.jos. okay, and packaging jar version 17. Now let's add some dependencies. So first we need Spring Web dependencies. Okay, why Spring Web? Because we want to create RESTful web APIs. Now let's add the Lombok. Okay, for using Lombok we can reduce our boilerplate code. Okay, we don't need to write getter setter methods by ourselves. So that's why we use a Lombok method, actually Lombok package dependency. Now let's use data JPA, Spring data JPA. Okay, then Spring driver class, driver, MySQL driver for connecting our application to MySQL database. Then let's use Spring Boot as well. Spring Security, sorry, not Spring Boot. Then let's use Spring Dev Tool. So guys, Spring Boot Dev Tool dependency, what it will do. So guys, whenever we make any changes in our application and save that changes, it will automatically refresh our app. Okay, we don't need to reload our application whenever we make changes. So that's why Spring Boot Dev Tools. And let me check any dependencies we are missing. So Spring Web, Lombok, Spring Data JPF for connecting as MySQL driver, Spring Security, Spring Boot Dev Tool, and of course we need to add JWT related dependency as well, but unfortunately we can't find here JWT dependency, so we'll add it manually. Okay, so no worries about that. And I guess now we can generate our project. If we need any other dependencies, then we will add it manually. Okay, so now let's create on generate, and inside the YouTube I'm gonna project, let's go to projects, then Angular, and here I will download it. And now let me open this project. So clicking here, and now let's extract this file, extract all, and inside this we have one more. So let me cut it out here, I will paste it here. Okay, now we'll import this project in our Spring Suite, actually Spring Tool Suite. Okay, Spring Tool Suite, yeah. So guys, you can use your favorite ID. Okay, it's not necessary that you should also use Spring Tool Suite because I'm using. Okay, you can use your favorite ID, use Eclipse, use what I can say, use this IntelliJ IDEA as well. Okay, if you want, yeah. Condition is that open that ID and import this recently created project. So click on import existing Maven project, next, then let me browse here, then I will go to YouTube, then Angular, or it is actually projects, then Angular, then here and this. Okay, so let's finish it, and let's wait a little bit. You can see here it's downloading some packages, so let it be. And here you can say see our project is imported, recipe sharing YouTube. All right, so building is 90% done, 96% and 100% done. So now we can start our project. So let me click here. By clicking right clicking on this, you can start your project. Okay, run as a Spring Boot application. So you can see our project is started, but there is one problem. It says a data source URL are not specified and embedded database, because guys we have used MySQL driver class in our application. So we need to provide driver class, suitable driver class. Okay, otherwise if it's not it will not find a suitable driver class in our project, then it will send us to this error. So let's go to browser and search for MySQL driver class in the Spring's official website. So let me search for spring.io, and here I'm not gonna find any search option. So what I'm gonna do is let me write here MySQL driver class, get started accessing data with MySQL, and scroll down and not this, yeah, you can see This is our MySQL driver class, and let's paste it in our application.properties file. So guys, in src main resource, here you will find application.properties file. Okay, here you need to specify driver class. So local this is our MySQL URL, and here we need to give our database. So guys, of course you need to install MySQL in your application, in your local machine if you haven't installed. So install MySQL in your local machine, and then create one database. So let me create one database, recipe sharing YouTube. Okay, create database recipe sharing YouTube. Okay, so we can't use this hyphen. Instead of, we need to use here underscore. Okay, that's why it's giving me a problem, but now it will be fine. So let me hit enter, and you can see query okay, one row is affected. So our database is successfully created. Now let's copy this database name, and here we need to pass this database name. Guys, now how can you identify that your database is created or not? So you can just run show command, show database command, show databases. Okay, and here you will find our recipe sharing YouTube. You can see this is our database. Okay, all right. Now here we need to pass our username. So username will be by default root. Guys, here use your MySQL's username. Okay, and also use your password, not use my password, otherwise it will not work in your local machine. So here I need to give my password. So my password is just like this. All right, and any other things we don't need to change. Okay, let it be as it is. So now our driver class is set. Now let me refresh my application, check. All right, you can see our application is working fine. So but here guys, it's generating Spring security password, because we have added Spring security in our application. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I will go to pom.xml and comment out this Spring security dependency. Okay, so this dependency. Yeah, now when we implement the Spring security, or when we configure a Spring security, that time we'll comment it out, but for now just let it be commented. Okay, now let me run it again. And okay, no problem. So what I'm gonna do is, let's go to here. Let me comment this out, and let me run it again. Okay, this time Spring security hasn't created default password because it's commented out. Okay, now let's go to here, and let's see first like in which port our application is running. So if I go to here, our Tomcat server is running on 8080. Okay, so let me change our server port, in which port we want to run it. So we don't want to run our application in 8080. So guys, let me first show you that, like here if I localhost 8000, actually not 8000, 8080. Okay, you can see our application is running, but we don't have any home controller. That's why it's giving this type of error. All right, so now let's do one thing. We'll change this port later, but for now what I'm gonna do is let me create our first API so that you can get confident how easy it is to create a API in Spring Boot. So let's create one package. Let's create a controller. Okay, inside that controller let's create one class. So new and the class, let's give it home controller. Okay, so guys, for creating RESTful API we need to annotate our class with REST controller. Okay, now it will act as a controller. So now let's create our method. Public return type will be string for now, and home controller here we don't need to give anything. Let me return welcome back to code with Josh. All right, now after guys creating this method, we need to annotate this method with HTTP request name. Like this method's gonna be get method. Okay, so we need to annotate with get mapping. Now what is get mapping? So guys, when we want to retrieve any data, get any data from database, that time we need to use get mapping. But if you want to insert any data into database, or we want to create new record in our database, okay, that time we need to use post mapping. So let me write here post mapping. So this post mapping. Okay, and if we want to edit any data, okay, make changes any existing data, update any existing data in our database, that time we want to use put mapping. Okay, so I hope this post mapping and put mapping you may understand. And there is one more request, and that is nothing but delete request. So if you want to delete any data from your database, that time you need to use delete mapping. Okay, so these four are the most important mapping guys in the Spring Boot, so don't forget this. Get mapping for retrieving any data from database, post mapping inserting and create new records in our database, put mapping update existing data and edit existing data, and for delete mapping is deleting any data from our database. All right, so that's it. Now here guys, you can pass your endpoint if you have. So currently don't let it be. We don't want to pass any endpoint. So let's check now how it will work. So now when I refresh this page, you can see instead of error we are getting welcome back to code with Josh. All right, now let's change our port, because we don't want to run our application in 8080. We want to run our application in server.port 5454. Okay, we want to run our application in this port. So now if I go to here and if I refresh, why still it's running? It not should be run now because we have changed our port. So let me refresh our application. Let's go to here and let me refresh the page. Now it will throw the error, you can see. But if I try to access using 5454, you can see it's working fine. Okay, so yeah guys, our home controller is ready now. So Now what I'm gonna do is let me create one more package where we can write our classes. So actually not class, first I need to create a package, new package name should be model. Okay, inside model package we'll write all our classes. So we have two classes, one for user and one for recipe. Okay, so let's define our users field. So private long and id, private string password. Okay, user password, private string email, and private string full name. All right, so yeah guys, now we don't want to generate getter setter method, instead of we want to use here long book. Okay, so just need to annotate this class with getter and setter. So getter @getter will generate all the getter methods for our fields. Now let's annotate it with setter as well. So setter, this setter annotation will generate all the setter methods for our this field. All right, now let's go to controller and let's create another controller as well. Actually let me what is it, let me go to window preferences, actually appearance, not appearance, preferences, window perspective and reset perspective. Okay, why I'm getting like this? Don't need this window. Let me close this as well. Window perspective, reset perspective. Okay, and let me open our recipe YouTube. Yeah, controller. Okay, inside controller I will create one more controller for user controller. User controller. Now as I said guys, we need to annotate it with REST controller. So let me annotate it with REST controller. Let's write here one method, public. I will return here user instead of string now, and return type of create user. Okay, and let me import this user. And guys, what I'm gonna do is now I will take data from body. What I mean by that, so just watch guys what I'm doing here. I need to write request body. Okay, this data will come from request body, data type will be user, and I will store in the user. Now what I'm gonna do, I will return here user. Okay, and let's now annotate this with post mapping, because we are creating here user. Okay, post mapping. And what I'm gonna do is I will not this, let me give here endpoint. So endpoint will be users. Okay, now let's open postman. Guys, if you don't know about Postman, don't worry, I will be explain. But first go to browser, and if you haven't downloaded Postman, and search for Postman. What is this? Do you want to allow public and private network access? Up, allow. Okay, just search for Postman here. Postman.com. Yeah, if you don't want to download, then you can directly, I guess, make request from here. So let me check if you can do that or not. Pricing interface source, get started. What is Postman? So what is Postman? You can see here what is Postman, like read about that. Okay, if you want to know more about this. But yeah, from here you can download for window and just open in your local machine. And guys, Postman is nothing but it stands for making HTTP requests. Okay, so let me create here one folder, collection, blank collection, and let me give it name recipe sharing YouTube. Recipe sharing YouTube. Okay, and let me after creating blank collection, what you need to do, click on add request. Okay, add requests. All right, and if you want, you can give it name like create user. Okay, now what you need to do is here, guys, we need to pass our API URL. So as you can see, in this URL we are getting welcome back to code with Josh, but we can do this with using Postman as well. So let's go to Postman. Let me paste it over here and let me send the request. So you can see we are getting welcome back to code with Josh response. Okay, so yeah, guys, we can use Postman for making HTTP requests. Now since it is a create user, we need to change this method type to post. Okay, now guys, you may have question like if we can do this with the browser, then why we need to install this Postman? But guys, this Postman is for only get request. What about post request? Okay, now we want to make a post request, so we can't make a post request using browser. We can only make a get request using browser. If you want to make post request, delete request, then put request, then we need to use Postman. Okay, so that's why I'm using here Postman, and here we need to pass our endpoint, that is nothing but user. So first our base URL on which we our backend is running, then we need to pass this endpoint. Okay, here you can see we have used users, that's why here I am giving users. All right, now let's go to body, row, and inside JSON, create on JSON. Here I need to give ID, so ID gonna be 4, then full name, so let's give it code with Josh. Then here we need to give email, so let's give code with Josh email @gmail.com. also let's give here password. Here we need to give one, let me give it in string. Okay, 5 6 7 8. All right, now let's send the requests. So you can see our data is coming here successfully. Okay, ID is 4, password is this, email is this, and our full name is this. All right, and if I change name here, so name will be changed here as well. You can see this type of. Okay, but we want code with Josh only, don't need this. So you can see full name is code with Josh, email this, password this, and ID 4. So guys, that's how you can get the data from client side. Okay, now whenever user want to register or create new user, it will pass this kind of data from front end, and our backend will take this data here. And currently here we haven't used database, that's why uh, we are not able to insert data inside database. But here you can write logic for storing our data inside database. Okay, so this is the post mapping, guys. That's how you can use uh, put mapping, delete mapping as well. All right. Okay, I hope you understand that how we can make REST APIs in our application. Now it's time to connect, or maybe we have already connected, but it's time to use MySQL database in our application. And instead of this dummy user, will store our data inside our database now. So for this, what we are gonna do is let's go to our model first, and here we need to annotate this our class with entity @entity. Okay, now what entity will does is, so entity will map our class with database table. Okay, if database table is not existing, then it will create one database using all this field as a column. Okay, and if already table is present in our database, then it will map our class with that database. Okay, so that's why we need to add the annotate this class with the entity. And now let me annotate this id as well. So for id we need to annotate with id field. And guys, this id we don't want to give from front end side. Here you can see I'm giving id from here, but now onwards we don't want to give this id. I want that Spring Boot will take care of my id, and it will automatically generate unique id whenever I create new user. Okay, so for that what I'm gonna do is I need to give here generated value and strategy. Let me give a generation tab. I will give here auto, so it will generate automatically id for my database every time. I don't need to create new id. Okay, now let me close this, I don't need it. So that's it, changes. Now we don't want to make any other changes in our user entity. Now let's go to here and create one more package. Okay, and here I will give a repository. Now what is repository? So guys, using repository we can save data in our database, delete data from our database, also get data from our database. So that's kind of communication with our database we can do that using repository. Okay, in the simple word, for communication between our application and database happen with the repository. So now let me create write one class that is nothing but user repository. Okay, we need to make it interface instead of class, interface, and we need to extend this user repository with JPA repository. Okay, and here we need to give class name, for which class name we want to create this repository. So for user class name we want to create this repository, and here we need to give data type of unique identifier which are present inside user class. So that is nothing but id. Okay, what is our unique identifier? in our user class, that is nothing but id. So id's data type is long, so that's why we need to give here long. All right, I hope you understand it. All right, now let's go to our user controller, and what I'm gonna do is now let's use here user repository. So what I'm gonna do, let's write here private user repository, a user repository. Okay, and using user repository, let's create user. So let's give it time user saved user equal to user repository. Now guys, inside this user repository you will get so many methods. Like first is get by id, get one, get reference, get save, and all this you can check out here. Okay, for delete and wait, yeah, there is so many methods, but currently we need here only save method. By using save method you can save user data inside user database. So let me give here user, this user. Okay, here we need to give user data, so I have given here user. Now let's return here saved user instead of user, so saved user. All right, now let me refresh this. I guess it's already refreshed. So guys, since we have annotated our user field, user class with entity, if we go to our database, here our table was created. So let's see our table is created or not. So first we need to use recipe sharing YouTube. Okay, and now show tables, run show tables, and tables, tables, tables. You can see our user table is created, but if I check inside user table, there will be not any record. So select star from user. So see, empty set. Our user table is empty for now. We don't have any record inside our user table, but now let's create one. So full name I will give this, email give this, password give this. We don't need to give id from front from client side. Okay, it will generate it automatically. So let's click on send, and we have get one error, that is nothing but cannot invoke a repository save because this repository is null. Okay, so guys, it's saying that repository instance is null. So what I need to do is let's go to user controller, and guys, we need to auto wired this. Okay, auto wired. Now it won't be null. Whenever we use any instances, that time we need to use auto wired. Okay, otherwise it will throw error like it is null. All right, and let's do this. Now let's go to postman again. Let's make a request, and here you can see id is 1, password is this, email is this, and full name is this. All right, now let's create one more user. So Ashok. See, this time id is 2, password is this, email is Ashok, and full name I haven't changed, so full name will be as it is. Now guys, there is one problem. Like if I hit this user again, you can see third user is created, id is 3, but email was same. So guys, guess, in our application, if user give same email, okay, every time. So it will create new user again and again, but we don't want that, because in our database this email is already exist, so we can't give two accounts with one email. Okay, we want to provide only one account with one email. Okay, so with one email we want to provide only one account, we don't want to provide multiple account. But here what happened, let's go to here, and if you check, you can see with the same email there are two accounts, code with chose, but we don't want like this. This email should be unique. Okay, so what we can do here is let's go to our user repository, and here I will write one method. So public, it will return user. Okay, and here I want to give like find, guys, naming conventional should be match. So find by, okay, just give find by, then you need to give field name, by which field you want to find user. So here I want to find by email, so I will give email, and string email, and find by email. Okay, so our error is gone, you can see. So we want to find by this field. So yeah guys, it should be camel case email. Right, now let's go to home controller, actually user controller, and write one method here, public find by email, and here I will receive string email, and return type will be user equal to, here I will use the user repository dot find by email, and here I will give email, and check if user not equal to null, means we are getting one user with this existing email. Okay, email is already exist in our database. So that time what we need to do is we need to throw an exception. So let's throw exception. What I will throw, email is already used. Okay, throw new exception, I need to give here new, add throw declaration, and we need to return not equal to null. So find email, else we need to use okay, user equal to null. Sorry guys, here what we want to check, like we are finding a user by this email. Okay, so if we don't get any user, then what we will throw exception here, user not found with this email. Okay, user not found with email, and let me provide here email as well, user not found. And if we found user, then we'll return this user. Okay, so yeah guys, with this method what we are gonna do is we are finding first user by this email. If don't find any user, then we'll throw this exception. If we find user, then we'll return this user. Now what I'm gonna do is, here before creating new user, before save this user, I will check if email is already exist in our database or not. So find by email, and here I will give user.get email. Okay, and here let me define user and is exists, and we need to all right guys, so we can't do this. Let's do one thing here. We don't need this method. Let me comment it out. Here itself we can check. Let me copy this. Sorry for the confusion guys. So here itself we will use like is exist. Here I will give is exist, and instead of email I will give here user.get email, and if is exists not equal to null, this means we have get one user in from our database with this email. So we are telling that user is exists, user is exists with this email. So user dot get email. All right, so guys, there is lots more confusion, so let me explain it once more. So what I'm gonna do here is, first I will find the user by email. If I get this user, then I will throw this exception, user is not user is exist with this email. Okay, else I will create new user, saved it in database, and return this. All right, so now let's go to here. Instead of this, let me give here Ram, and let me give name as well Ram. Okay, let me send. You can see our user is created, but if I send it again, you can see we have get the exception, and that is what user is exist with ram@gmail.com. and if I give here Sita and Sitaram, you can see our user is created. But if I run it again with the same email, you can see we have get user is exist with sita@gmail.com. all right, so yeah guys, I hope you may understand this. Now what I'm gonna do is our create user is ready. Now let's write one method for delete user, or maybe let's do one thing. Yeah, let's write method for delete user. Okay, and here we need to pass user ID, which user you want to delete. So user ID, and guys, a delete method can't accept the request body, so we need to remove request body from here. Also we need to change it with delete mapping, and we need to import it delete mapping. Okay, now let me do this. Here what I'm gonna do is I will return here string. Okay, so user repository dot delete by id. Okay, here I need to give user id. Guys, now you can see here I have given user id here. Now how to access this user id? So this user id you can access using path variable. Okay, so let's use here path variable. It's gonna be long and user id. That's it. Now let's return here like user is deleted successfully. User deleted successfully. Okay, so if I check here, you can see we have this two user with the same email. Okay, so let's delete one of them. Let's delete whose id is 3. So let me add here new request and right here delete user. Here I need to provide this provide id 3. Okay, and delete name. Guys, why I have given here 3? Because if you can see here I have provided user id. It's gonna be dynamic. Okay, you can pass whatever user id you want. All right, now let's delete it. You can see user deleted successfully. Now if I go to my database and I check here, you can see I have already one user with this ashok@gmail.com. Okay, so our delete mapping is also working fine. Now let's write one more method. That is nothing but get. It's gonna be get mapping. So get all the users, okay, which are present in our database. So for this, let's write here get all users. And get map here we don't need path variable, so let me remove this. And guys, it will return a list of user. Okay, list of user, because inside our database there will be so many users. Now let's write here list of users user repository. Now find all, just give it find all. Okay, and just return here users. Okay, so inside user repository, for finding all the records, we have find all method. Using this we can find all the records, or we can get all the records. Let's go to here, let's create one more method, requests. Name should be get all users, and localhost, and see this, we have 3 users, code with Josh, Ashok and Ram. Alright, so our get all users also working fine. Now let's write one more method, that is nothing but find user by id. But find user by id actually we don't need here. We'll do this in recipe setting application, recipe controller. Okay, all right guys, so now here there is one problem. Here we are defining our route also, and also we are writing our business logic in the same file. So what I need to do is I want to make it more structured. Okay, I want to make it more structured project. I don't want to write business logic in the same file where I have defining routes. Okay, I want to make separate file for all these things. So what I'm gonna do is I will write one package here called interface and user service. Okay, and first I need to create one package. Let me tell it this. So let's first create one package called service, and here new class user service. Okay, but it should be interface. All right, and here I will define all the methods regarding user. So what I'm gonna do is actually let's do one thing. Let user controller as it is, but let's create here new service, new interface for recipe service. Okay, inside this recipe service I will write all the methods. So public recipe, actually we don't have recipe class, so let me first create here recipe class. So I will click on new, create one class recipe, and let's go to recipe. Here we need to annotate this class with getter setter, then also we need to annotate with entity. Of course we want to make this entity just like user. Okay, private long id, of course, then we need to annotate with id. Okay, then let's generated value. Here we need to give strategy, and generation type I need to give auto. Okay guys, so all this thing I have already explained in user entity, so I'm not gonna now explain this again. Okay, so private string title. All right, private user. So why I have given user here, because I want to tell this tell that which user have created this recipe. Okay, that user I will define here. Private string image, private string description, private boolean vegetarian, and private local date time created it, private lists long likes new array lists. Okay, so what I'm doing here is inside this likes list I will add user IDs. Okay, those user IDs whoever like this recipe. Okay, those users ID I will store inside this list, whoever like this recipe. All right, so that's it. Now guys, here if you can see, I have used the user field. So what I need to do is here I need to define the relation. Okay, what are the relation between user and recipe? Since it is a entity, recipe and user, that's why I need to define the relation between this user entity and recipe entity. So like in recipe only one user will be there, okay, but at the same time the same user will be in multiple recipe, means one user can create multiple recipe, okay, but one recipe can created by only one user. That will be not two user in one recipe. That's not the scenario, okay. So recipe have only one user, but one user can create multiple recipe. So that's why here I need to provide many to one relation, okay, between a recipe and user. So what is many to one? So one user can create many recipe, but many at the same time many recipe have only one user, okay. Recipe don't have multiple user. That's why many recipe have one user, but one user can create many recipes. So that's the relation here. All right, now when I define this relation inside my recipe table, it will not contain whole user. Instead of, it will contain just a user ID. Okay, I will show you this when I will create new recipe, so don't worry about that. Now let's go to here and let's define here our recipe method. So first create recipe, user recipe, okay, it will take two things, user and recipe. So recipe data, okay, which you want to create, and user, which user want to create this recipe. Public, now recipe, find a recipe by ID, okay, long ID, throws exception, okay, no worries. Now public void delete recipe. So here I need to provide ID, which recipe do you want to delete, throws exception. So why we need the exception here? Because first we need to find the recipe by ID. If we didn't find any recipe by this ID, then we want to throw exception like recipes does not exist. Okay, here also same, we will find recipe by ID. If we didn't find any recipe by this ID, then we'll throw exception, recipe does not exist with this ID. Okay, public recipe update recipe and long ID, throws exception. All right, so here why, here also we need to first find recipe by ID. If recipe doesn't exist, then how can we update it? Okay, so that's why we need to throw exception like recipe is not exist if we didn't find any recipe. Then public list of recipe, find all recipe, okay, and public recipe like recipe. Okay, long recipe ID here I need to give, then user throws recipe exception. Okay, now let me import this list. Alright, so these are the guys just method name, nothing much more fancy. Like this method will create recipe, this method will find recipe by ID, this method will delete recipe, it will update recipe, it will find all the recipe which are present in our database, and it will like recipe. Now for all this method we need to write implementation. Okay, we need to write business logic, because by default it's not gonna be work. We need to provide a business logic, how it will create recipe, how it will find recipe by ID, okay, and how it will delete recipe and all this thing. So let's write here service implementation. So new class and write here recipe service implementation, recipe service implementation. Since guys here we are writing our all business logic, we need to annotate with service annotation. Okay, and now here we need recipe repository. So recipe repository, but we haven't created this recipe repository. So let's first create this recipe repository inside repository package. So let's create interface recipe repository. Okay, here I need to extend with JPA repository, and here I need to give recipe, and I need to give IDs data type. So IDs data type is nothing but long in our recipe class. Alright, now let's give a recipe repository, recipe repository. Okay, and we need to make it auto wired, else it will be null. Okay, so we need to make it auto wired. Now let's implement this with a recipe service, guys. So implements with this recipe service. Which recipe service? You can see we have created all this method inside recipe service. So with this recipe service we need to implement this recipe service here. So now it will ask us to add unimplemented method. So let's add it. Okay, you can see we have all the override method which we have created inside recipe service. Now let's write our business logic here. Okay, so let's create here new recipe. Recipe created recipe equal to new recipe. Okay, I will first create empty object. Now let's set all the fields. So created recipe dot set. First we need to set title. Okay, title, where it will come from? Recipe dot get title. Okay, created recipe dot set image. So recipe actually dot get image. Now description. So create a recipe dot set description. So recipe dot get description. Now let's add user. So created recipe dot set user. This user will set here. Okay, all right. Now recipe created recipe dot set created at when it will created. So here we need to give local datetime dot now. Okay, now created recipe dot set any left, like we don't want to set. Okay, all the fields are ready. Now let's create this recipe service and return here. Okay, so using recipe repository, we'll save this created recipe, save created recipe. Okay, and we'll return it. That's it. So our created recipe logics are done. Now let's implement this find recipe by ID. So what I need to do is, let me give here a recipe OTP optional opt equal to recipe repository dot get by ID. Okay, here we need to give ID or maybe find by ID. Okay, it's deprecated, so we don't want to use deprecated methods here. We'll use here find by ID. Okay, now it will ask me to change type of optional instead of recipe. All right, why optional, guys? So when we invoke this find by ID method inside recipe repository, it will return this optional type. So optional type means maybe recipes exist in this or maybe it's not. So how we can check it? Like opt if opt dot is present. If it's present, that means recipe is present or we get the recipe with this ID. Okay, if it is present, then what we need to do is we need to return here opt dot get method. By using get method, we can get the recipe object. Okay, and if it's not present, that means we didn't get any recipe with this ID. So what we are gonna do is we'll throw new exception. That is nothing but a recipe not exist with ID. So recipe not found with ID, and let me give here ID as well. And instead of return, I need to throw new exception. Okay, that's how find recipe will work. Now let's delete recipe. So for deleting recipe, first I need to check this recipe is exist in our database. If it is not exist, then how can I delete it? So first let's find it by ID. Find recipe by ID and then delete recipe by ID. So recipe repository dot delete by ID, and that's it. Okay, we don't need to return anything because it return type is void. Now update recipe. Okay, so what we are gonna do is here, first we need to find recipe by ID. Copy, let's paste it, ID. Okay, and old recipe, we can say that old recipe. Okay, data type will be recipe. Now here we'll check if a recipe which are coming from body request, it's exist get title not equal to null. Okay, that means we are getting a title inside body from request body. So we need to change old recipe dot set title. And what is this? So recipe dot get title. Okay, Now it will check what other fields it's gonna contain. Recipe.get image. You want to change image, then if yes, then what we are gonna do is old recipe.set image recipe.set image, sorry, get image. Okay, if it contains description as well, then let's change description as well. Recipe.get description not equal to null. Then what I'm gonna do, old recipe dot set description and recipe dot get description. Now let's save this, let's update this old recipe. So what we are gonna do is recipe service repository dot save and old recipe. Okay, so guys, this save method work for two things. First, create new record, and second, update new records. So how it will identify that when it should create new record and when it should update this record. So guys, when we give any object inside this save method, so it will search for ID. It will get the ID inside this object. Okay, then it will check in our database that with the same ID, if any record is present, then it will update. And if he didn't get any ID in this object, then it will create new record in our database. Okay, I hope you may understand. Now find all recipes. So simple, recipe repository dot find all, that's it. And for the like repository, what I'm gonna do is alright, let's like repository. So first we need to find the recipe. Okay, so let's find recipe by ID. Recipe equal to find by ID, find recipe by ID, recipe ID. Okay, now here we'll check if recipe dot get likes equal to null. Actually we don't need this. Recipe dot get likes dot contains, and here we need to give user ID, user dot get ID. Okay, if it's already contains that user, then what we need to do is we need to remove that user, so it's gonna be unlike. Okay, recipe dot get like dot remove, and here we need to give user dot get ID. Else what we need to do, we need to add user inside this. Recipe dot get likes dot add user dot get ID. All right, and also let me give here. All right, so guys, here what we are doing is if recipe is already liked by this user, then we are unlike that recipe, and if recipe is not liked by this user, then we'll like that recipe. So here we'll check first recipe dot get likes. If it's contain already user ID, then we'll remove, and if it's not contain, then we'll add. All right, so that's it for this. Now let's create the controller just for user controller. So class recipe controller. Okay, and let's annotate it with REST controller. Here what I'm gonna do is I need a recipe service. So let me define here recipe service. Recipe service. I need to make it auto wired. Okay, and now let's write public. It's gonna be return recipe, create recipe. It's gonna be take request body recipe recipe. Let me import this. Okay, now what I need to do is okay, so create new recipe. Okay, so recipe created a recipe equal to a recipe service dot create recipe. Here we need to give recipe and user. Then we can return created recipe. Alright, so guys, where this user will come from? Okay, here you can see we need to pass here user. Which user? This user which we want to create this recipe. So from where we can pass this user? So that's the main concern. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I will go to here. I will pass here post mapping, because it's gonna be post method. We want to insert data or create new record inside our database. That's why here we need to give post mapping, and let's give API recipe user, and here we'll pass user ID. Okay, this user wants to create this recipe. So now let's access this by using path variable. Path variable user ID. It's gonna be long. Okay, but now okay, we have get the user ID, but now how we can get user from user ID? So what we are gonna do is let's go to user service. Here I will write one method, public user find user by ID, and long user ID. Let's throw exception. Okay, now let's import this user. Let's create here a user implementation. So user service implementation and service. And here what I need to do is I need user repository. So user repository. Auto add. Okay, let's write let's implement with implements with user service. Let's create let's click here, add an implemented method. Let's find user by ID. So user optional equal to user repository find by ID, user ID. Control S. So change to find all, find by ID just. Okay, and change type of OPT optional, OPT to optional. All right, and here just same like a recipe, we need to first check if OPT dot is present, then OPT dot get, we need to return this. So let's return, else we are gonna throw error. So let's throw new exception. User not found with ID, user ID. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I will go to recipe controller, and here I will create one more instance that is nothing but user repository. User repository. Auto add. Okay, and here will actually not user repository, we need to inject here user service, sorry, user service. Okay, now we can check here user, we can find the user. So user equal to user service dot find user by ID. All right, now we get the user here, and we can pass this user here. So that's it, add throw declaration. Okay, so that's how our create recipe will work. Now let's copy this, let's write for get all recipes, get all recipe. We don't need to pass here now user, we don't need this as well, and also don't need this path variable. Just find all recipe. Actually we don't need this user service as well. Now here recipe service dot find all recipe. Okay, and now it will return list of recipe. Okay, so let's give here recipes, and let me import this list. list of recipe. Okay, let me save it. Add cast to recipe, get all recipe. Change type of recipes to list of recipe. Change return type of find all to recipe. Okay, I need to give here list of recipe. Alright, now let's copy this. Let's write for update recipe. So for guys, for getting recipe we need to change this post mapping to get mapping. Okay, that one more thing. And now let's delete recipe. Delete recipe. So here we need to give delete mapping. Okay, and here we need to pass recipe ID. So let's use here recipe ID, and let's access from path variable. And it's gonna be long recipe ID. Now it's not gonna return anything. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of find all recipe, I will give here delete recipe. And I will return here a string like recipe deleted successfully, and let me define here string, and let me import this get mapping. Okay, now let's write for update recipe. So for update recipe, let me copy this, paste it over here. Instead of create, let me write here update recipe. Okay, here I need to give put mapping. Let me import this. Now user service find user by ID. So first let's check what are the things we need here. So recipe service dot update recipe, we need to pass a recipe and ID of the recipe. Okay, so here let's give recipe ID, or maybe just let's give ID. This ID gonna be path variable, comes from path variable, and it's gonna be ID. Okay, now here we don't need this user service as well. Alright, and here we need to give updated recipe instead of created recipe. Alright, so this is for update recipe. Now let's like recipe. For this, what I'm gonna do is I will just over here like recipe. Okay, inside this, let's call this like recipe. We need to give user and recipe ID. Okay, this recipe ID, and let's define here user and user ID as well. Okay, so instead of this request body, I'm gonna give here path variable, and here I will give long and user ID. Okay, which user ID? This user ID. Okay, that's gonna be same. Alright, now let's find user by ID. So what I'm gonna do, I will copy this line, paste it over here and pass user here. Okay, that's all. I guess our recipe APIs are done. So let's go to here and let's check. Let's add new requests, create a recipe. What I need to do, localhost API recipe, inside body, inside the row JSON, let me give here a recipe data. And what are those? ID, pixel, actually pixel food image. Let's go to here and let's get this image, copy image address. Let's go to here and here what I need to give first, let's give title THLE, pizza, then image, then description, delicious, or maybe nice, or let me grab 2 lines for food recipe. Food courts. Okay, let's go to here and let's bring this. Food is symbolic of love when words are in the courts. Let's go to here. All right, and yeah, let's give here vegetarian, true. That sense. Actually we need to give here post method not allowed. API recipe create recipe, user and user ID also we need to give, which user have created this recipe. So guys, let's go to our database and check which user. Let's give Ram. Okay, so 52 user ID, Ram have created this recipe. So let's give here 52 and that's it. You can see our recipe ID is 1, title this, user here you can see Ram, we have just give ID, but here we get full user. Okay, image also we have get and likes. Now let's update this recipe. So what I'm gonna do, add request, update a recipe, put mapping. Instead of this recipe here I need to give recipe ID. So I want to add first recipe whose name is, first let's get all the recipe, then we'll update it. Okay, so add request, get all recipe, localhost, and this you can see we have get this all the recipe and his title is pizza. Okay, now I want to change it from burger. So recipe 1, let's go to body, row, here what I give it title I will give burger, and all the remaining things will be as it is. Okay, I only want to change title. Let's send it. Unsupported media type. Content type is not supported. So API recipe, let's go to here and check our endpoint. API recipe ID request body recipe path variable ID. API recipe 1 put mapping, it's gonna be put mapping. It is put mapping. And title I have given here burger. Unsupported media type. What I mean by that? It's not supported. Message content type text plain character UTF-8 is not supported. Okay, now it's working fine. Alright guys, so here you can see burger. Okay, our title was changed to burger. Also you can change a description as well, but vegetarian. Vegetarian. Instead of vegetarian, here I need to give vegetarian. So let's make this typo fix. Vegetarian. Okay, and let's create here new. Could not stand for vegetarian does not have a default value. Of course guys, so what I need to do is let me alt this column. Or maybe guys, what you can do is just drop this database and create it again, because we have recently changed a vegetarian to vegetarian, that's why it's giving this error. Or maybe you can delete vegetarian column in your database, then it will work fine. Okay, so now let's go to and check other fields as well. So let's like recipe. So for this we need to pass here recipe ID, that is nothing but 1. User 52 will not 52, user 2 will like this recipe. Okay, so let's go to get all recipe first. We are getting this recipe like is empty, but when I here I need to give like recipe. When I hit this API method not allow, of course I need to make it put method. I didn't get anything, why? But let's go to and get all recipe. So let's check what's the problem with like recipe controller. Like recipe API recipe ID user ID return updated recipe. Okay, and let's go to recipe service, find all recipe. Okay, like recipe we are returning here null, instead of we need to return here. First guys we need to saved it. Okay, so recipe repository dot save, and here we need to give a recipe. Now it will work. Let's go to here. Let's like this recipe, and you can see inside like we have two user ID. Okay, but if I hit this again, it will unlike. Okay, one more thing guys, here I need to provide like symbol. Okay, but yeah, I will provide it later. So what I'm gonna do is here recipe, instead of recipe I need to give here recipes all there. Here also recipes, here also recipes. Guys, since you are you can see that we are writing this repeating endpoints in all the methods. So what I'm gonna do, here I will write request mapping and here I will define this API recipes. Okay, now here we don't need to pass this endpoint. This endpoint automatically will start from this endpoint. Okay, so now we can remove this recipes. Here we don't need to provide anything, and let's remove this as well. Let's remove this as well. Alright, and if you can see still it will work. Let me give you a recipe. You can see 2 for like, and if I give it again, it's unlike. And here I need to give like endpoint. Okay, so let me give here like, so that we can identify that API, this API is for like recipe. Alright, so guys, our all the recipe API is working fine, and now it's time to implement a Spring security in our application. Okay, currently you can see our endpoints are not secure, and also we didn't implement login method in our application. Okay, so implementing Spring security will implement our login method as well, and will also secure that all the routes. Without token we can't access this route. Okay, that's how we'll secure all our routes. For accessing all this route we need to provide a token. Without token nobody will can access our API or maybe our application. Okay, so that kind of security we are going to implement using Spring security in our application. Alright guys, so now let's implement Spring security in our application. So first let's go to pom.xml, and we need to comment out this dependency Spring security. Okay, let's Control S. Now if I can see in the console, okay, first it's give me one error, so let's resolve this error. Go to here, and what I'm gonna do, root, and let me rerun it. Okay, so our error is gone, and you can see Spring security has by default generated this password. for us. So let's copy this. Now guys, if we can go to here and if I refresh, you can see it's giving me by default this login page. Now I'm not able to access our home controller. You can see this. So here I need to give username will be by default user, and password which we have copied from terminal. That password I need to give here, and when I click on sign in, you can see now I'm able to this home controller. But what I want is, I don't want to secure this home controller. I want to access this home controller without password. Okay, I don't want to give any password. Without that password I want to access this route. But when it comes to any other endpoints like get all recipe, create recipe, okay, that time I want password. That time I want that security, like if somebody pass token or password, then only he can able to access this endpoint. So how can I do this? So this kind of configuration, guys, we need to tell our Spring Boot. So let's go to here and let's create one config and then write this configuration. So config, and let me create here one class that is nothing but appconfig. Okay, and here we need to annotate with configuration because it's gonna be our configuration file. Okay, now here security chain. Okay, we need to provide a security chain, security filter chain, security filter chain method name. Here we need to access HTTP security and throw exceptions if any gets throws. Let me import exception. I'm not able to import this except. Okay, here is a spell mistake, exceptions. Now let me return here null, so it won't give me any error. Now let's start. So first, HTTP session management. Okay, HTTP session management. In session management, guys, I want to give that don't manage session by yourself. Like if I do this, now I will get this endpoint, okay, without passing any password, because when I give credential, it has already store the details in my session. Okay, here inside application, inside you will get the session management, local storage, or cookies. Now let me clear this, and if I refresh here, you can see I have get this form again. Okay, so guys, Spring Security by default managing session by itself, but I want to tell that don't manage session by yourself, I will manage it. So for this, what I need to give here, management dot, actually let me use here this management dot session creation creation policy, and I will make it session creation policy stateless. Okay, so session creation policy stateless. Then authorize HTTP requests. Okay, now inside this let me take here. Okay, so guys, session creation policy will be stateless. Don't use don't manage session by yourself. I will manage it. Okay, and inside authorize HTTP request, I need to so guys, this part is for session management. Now this authorize HTTP request. Okay, authorize HTTP request, inside I need to give what are the endpoint should be whitelisted and what are the endpoint should be protected. So let's give this here. Authorize lambda expression I will use here. Authorize dot, it's not authorize, callback, authorize request matchers, and here I need to define endpoints. Okay, so whatever endpoint will start from API, okay, make it authenticated. So let's give here authenticated, make it authenticated. All the endpoints which are starting from API, make it authenticated. Now here I need to give any other requests. Why I'm like this? Dot. Why it's like this? Okay, I need to write like inside this, any requests, any other request, permit all. Okay, so let me make it structure, then I will explain you once more. Alright guys, so here I'm telling that those endpoint which are starting from API ***, make it authenticated, and those endpoint which are not starting for API, make it whitelisted. Okay, user can access those endpoint without using any password and token. So that's it. Now let CSRF, make it CSRF disable. So CSRF disabled. Okay, and dot course, let course dot configuration source, and here course configuration source I need to give course configuration source. So let me make it like this, course configuration source. Okay, so let me define here method name instead of this course configuration source. Now we need to create this method because we don't have. Okay, then dot http basic will make it with default, and dot form login dot form login also I will give it with default. First let me give here with default. with defaults, and here also I need to give with defaults. That's it. Okay, now we need to create method for course configuration because we don't have, and also let's click here, create method with a default. And what is, give me remove argument mesh from login, HTTP basic, then form login. Actually we don't need to provide this. HTTP basic with defaults. Why it's giving me error? HTTP basic. Form login with defaults. Let me remove this as well. So what it's saying, HTTP basic at yeah, still HTTP basic form login. Let me remove this for now. Let me give like this, and let's fix this. Configure problem server tree. Okay, don't use this. Form login, use only form login. Syntax and file. Okay, so form login with defaults. Now it's fine, and let me remove this. We don't need it. Okay, and we need to, guys, annotate this with bin. So let me annotate with bin. Okay, and here we need to return HTTP build instead of null. Okay, so that's it. Now inside this course configuration, we need to configure course. Okay, like from which client our backend should be accessible, or for which client we want to block this. So this kind of functionality we are gonna implement here. So let me return here new course configuration source. Okay, and you can see we have got this override method. Now let's implement this override method. Let me remove this and request then course configuration cfg equal to new course configuration. Now cfg dot set allow credentials or maybe allow origins. Okay, so inside this origin we can give like for which URL we want to make it accessible our backend. So here I will give universal like for any client side URL it will be accessible. So for that what I'm gonna do is collection okay, collection dot singleton collections dot singleton list, and here I need to give universal like this. Okay, for any of this it can be accessible. Now let me copy this, and also I will set allow methods, which are the methods will be allowed. So let me give all the methods allowed. Let's give set allow header. So I will allow all the headers. Now set expose header. So cfg dot set expose header also I will give a universal. Okay, and you can set here max edge. So let me set here max as well. Let me set is 30 trouble. And now let's return here cfg. So that's it. Let me refresh this and check our endpoint is now whitelisted or not. So let's refresh, remove this. You can see now we don't need to provide the password for accessing this endpoint, but if I call api.recipes, you can see we need to provide login credential. Okay, so let's go to here and copy this password and user, paste this password, and here API recipes. Alright guys, this kind of thing we need to do in the Postman. Here I guess it will not work. So guys, I hope you understand. Now for accessing this endpoint we don't need to pass any password and username, but if you want to pass anything else, if you want to access anything else, then we need to pass user and password. Okay, now what we can do is let's go to here. So our configuration is done. Now we need to implement login and sign up method using JWT. Okay, so let's go to my previous project, and what I'm gonna do is I will copy JWT dependencies here from here. Okay, and I will also tell you like from internet how can you search this dependency. So no worries about that. Let me copy this. Let me go to my pom.xml, and in the last here I'm gonna paste it. Okay, now what should I do is let's go to here, and again I will save this and run it again. Alright, so our backend is running fine. We have add our JWT dependencies, and let me close this and let's go to here. So guys, we have added this JSON Web Token JWT API, and this JSON Web Token from JWT IMPL, JSON Web Token from JWT JSON IMPL and API. These three dependency I have added here. You can search inside browser as well, like JSON Web Token Maven dependency. Okay, so yeah, here you can find the inside this you can find JSON Web Token dependencies. Okay, API, JSON, and which is other API, JSON, and IMPL. All the dependency you can search in the browser, you will get it. Now let's go to here, and inside package, let me create new file. Okay, this file is for what? So guys, as I told you, now I will still, if you can see here, here we need to provide Spring Security's by default generated password, but now I want that user can log when user register itself, that time he will get one token, and using that token he will be able to access all the secure route. I don't want to generate this Spring Security's default generated password. Okay, because since we are in debug mode, we are getting that password, but when we go inside production, that time we don't get this password. So how can we access secure route? So using user's credential, like when user pass their own password and email, okay, during register time and login time. So using user's credential, he will be able to access secure password, secure route. So now that kind of functionality we want to implement in our application. So first what we need to do is we need to create one file for JWT token validator, or maybe first let's create one file for JWT provider. So JWT provider. Okay, inside JWT provider we'll write logic for creating JWT, and let me make it service first. Let's import it, and yeah, generate JWT. So public string generate token. For generating token we need authentication, which comes from Spring Security, Spring Framework boot auto configuration, not this authentication, Spring Framework Security Core. Okay, then here I need to pass auth, then string JWT equal to, here I can use dots, come from JWT dependency builder, here set issued at. So here I can issue in which date on which date this token is issued. Okay, so yeah, now set expiry, Let me first import this date from java.util set expiry. Why I'm not able to set expiry? Let me return JWT here. Charts builder, then set issue date, now dot set expiration, set expiration new date. Inside this new date dot get time at 6/4 dot claim email, and here I need to give auth dot name, auth dot get name. Okay, then sign in with, guys, I will explain this field, don't worry. Sign in with key, here I need to give key and dot compact. That's it, our token is ready. So guys, here you can see I have set the claim. Okay, so what is this? So inside this token I will set email. Okay, so when somebody wants to get this email using this token, he can do that. That's why I'm setting here email. Now what we are gonna do is, so when user will when user will register themselves, okay, that time I will generate this token, and inside this token I will give email which user have provided register time. Okay, so now using this token we can retrieve this email as well. Okay, and also when user logged in, that time also I will generate this token and set email which user has provided during login time. Okay, so from this token we can access the email. Now using this email we can get user from our database. Okay, so yeah, this you will understand once we implement it. So for now, that understand this, that will set email inside token when user register themselves and login themselves. All right, now let's write one method for get string get email from JWT token string, and JWT I need to give here. Okay, but guys, we don't have this sign key. Okay, so we need to provide this key. So let's do this thing. What I'm gonna do, I will create one new class, JWT constant. I will give name JWT constant, then public static final, and I will give name this constant to JWT secret. Okay, and here guys you need to give a random string. Okay, type will be string. All right, now let's write another constant as well. So public static final, and type will be string, and this time is authorization or JWT header. JWT header equal to authorization authorization. That's how I will give. Okay, authorization. Now this both are, I guess, ready to use. Let me make more. All right, now let's go to here and let's create sign-in key. So how to create sign-in key? For that, let's create one variable, private secret key. So secret key, okay, key equal to keys dot add schema, and here we need to give our secret key, which we have right inside JWT constant. So let's use this JWT constant dot JWT secret dot get bytes. Okay, this key we need to give here. All right, now let's go to here and return null for now. And first let's get JWT from the string JWT. So JWT dot substring, and here we need to pass 7. That's why I'm doing this. So whenever user will pass JWT token from client side, it will send like this. First it will send bearer token, bearer keyword, and then here our actual JWT. Okay, so in this manner a user will send the token from client side. So we need to extract this word. So if you can count this word, you can see, you can count this character 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. So we need to extract this 7 character. That's why I have used here substring 7. All right, okay, now let's claims equal to dot parse builder. We can use here parse builder, set sign-in key. Inside this we need to set our key dot build dot parse claim, parse claims. Inside we need to give JWT, and on that we can invoke get body method. And now let me do this, import this. Okay, string email equal to string dot value of, and here we need to give claims dot get, and here we need to give key. Okay, so guys, this key value should be matched when we have given during the generate time. Okay, this should be matched, else if you give here emails and here email, then it will not work. Okay, so this should be match. All right, now let's return email instead of null. All right, so that's it. Our things is done here for JWT provider. Now let's write JWT validator. So why JWT validator? I will tell you that as well. JWT token validator. Okay, so guys, in the app config, let's go to here. We have given that yeah, if our endpoints will start from API/API, then it should be protected. Okay, but how it will check, that is how it will check, like it is valid or not. Maybe I need to give it to access or not. How it will check? So for that, what I'm gonna do here, we need to write the logic, and we need to tell that using this logic you need to validate the user that yes, it has provided the valid JWT. Now uh, you can give access of this endpoint. Okay, so I hope you will be understand now this kind of functionality we are gonna implement here. After this, add filter before. Okay, and here I need to give new JWT validator, JWT token validator, and here I need to give basic authentication filter, basic authentication filter, basic authentication filter dot class. That's it. Change add filter. Yeah, okay guys, so now before giving access to protected route, it will check that JWT validator, what JWT validator is telling. It's telling we need to give access or not. Okay, so yeah, now before giving access to protected route, it will go to JWT validator and check token is valid or not. So let's do this now. Let's write here our logic for check a token is valid or not. So extends, we need to extend this per request filter. Now when I add an implemented method, it will write one override method, and we need to implement this override method. Wow, great. So first let's get JWT token. How we'll get JWT token? So inside requests, inside header, so get header, inside authorization header, user have passed the token authorization. Okay, so for authorization we have JWT constant dot JWT header. Okay, inside this JWT header variable we have constant, actually we have authorization word. Okay, that's why I have used this, and if you don't want to use like this, you can also use like this as well, like authorization, because in this authorization header user will pass the JWT, but I'm not gonna pass this keyword. I'm not gonna pass directly this keyword. Instead of, I will use this. Okay, now let's write here condition if JWT not equal to null, then proceed, and JWT I will abstract from substring, as I told you before. Why I want to use substring here. Now try, and secret key schema, all this thing I need. So what I'm gonna do is go to JWT, I will copy this and paste it over here. Okay, also we don't have key, so let me copy this key as well. secret key. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is string authorities, because we haven't passed here authority, so what we don't need it. And let's create here authentication. So authentication equal to new username password authentication. Here we need to give email and authorities. So email, let's give here email, and authority, let's give null. All right, now I don't understand why I'm getting this. Okay, because here I need to catch the error. Okay, inside catch, what I'm gonna do is I will throw new bad credential exception. Bad credential exception. I will write here invalid token. Okay, and we need to set this authentication into context holder. So let me do this as well. Security context holder, security context holder dot set dot get context, then set context, set authentication, and this authentication. Okay, that's it. Now after this catch and this if condition, we need to proceed. So filter chain do filter. Here we need to give request and response. That's it. Okay, so that's it for this. Now what I'm gonna do is, still guys, it will generate by default password. So for this we need to make one service here, custom user details service. Okay, by implementing this service will tell security that don't generate custom password, we don't need it. Okay, we'll write our own logic for this. We'll use our own JWT token. Okay, so custom user details service we need to implement with user details service, user details service, user details user details service. Yeah, now it will ask us to add an implemented method and we need to implement this. Now here we need user repository as well. So private user repository and user repository. That's it. Now what I'm gonna do, here I will find user by email first. So user equal to user repository find by email, you can see, and here we need to give username, and let's import this user. Okay, so guys, in username we are setting email, that's why we are using here username. Okay, now let's check. If user equal to null, then here I need to throw exception. Throw new username not found exception. User not found with email username. Okay, and let's return here. First let me define here list empty authorities. Okay, so granted authority, that we import first list granted authority, then authorities equal to new array list, and here I will return new user. So this user comes from Spring Framework security core user details, right? Here what I need to do give is directly you can give user. Okay, so let's give user. What is the constructor is not defined. Okay, user dot get email, then user dot get password, and here authorities. Right, done. When I refresh this our application, this time it won't generate default password, guys. So let me refresh our application. Okay, so guys, you can see this time you can't find the default generated password in console, because now implementing this service, we have told user that don't generate default password, we'll use on our own JWT token for authenticate. Okay, now we need to implement our register method and login method. So let's create a new class auth controller. Okay, we need to annotate with REST controller, and let's provide here starting endpoint. So request mapping, and it will start from auth. Okay, here we need user repository. So let's define user repository. Also we need here custom user detail service. So custom user detail service, custom user details. Okay, anything else we will need, then we'll add it here. Also let's JWT provider will need here, because when user will register we need to create new token, and also when user will log in, that time also we need to create new token. Okay, also password encoder we need. So what I'm gonna do is I will go to here, guys, and write one passcode encoder method. Why need this password encoder method? Because before storing our password inside database, we need to encode that password. Okay, so public password encoder. Okay, and password encoder, and let's return new bcrypt password. Bcrypt password, bcrypt password encoder. Okay, yeah, and we need to annotate with bin. Alright, now let's go to our auth controller and add this as well. Private password encoder, password encoder. Okay, we need to annotate all this with auto-wired. So let me copy this, paste it over here as well, and over here as well. Alright, now we can start writing our register method. So what I'm gonna do, I will write here a public, then what I'm gonna return here. So I will return auth response. Of course auth response class we don't have, so we'll create it. Create user. Okay, from the request body we'll take user, and throw user exception. Instead of, let's throw only exception. Now let's create this auth response in auth response. So let's give a package name response and finish. Inside this auth response, guys, we need only two things. That is nothing but first is our JWT. So string JWT, let's make it private, and second thing, let's pass message. Okay, and let's annotate it with getter setter method, setter method. Also let's annotate it with all args constructor. Alright, so now let's go to here, return null for now. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is guys, I will close all this and open auth controller again. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is here I will make three variable, one for email, and where it's come from, user.getEmail. Okay, and then password. Password also comes from user dot get password, then string full name and user dot get full name. All right, now here I will check is email is exist or not. So let's check user is exist email in our database. First we need to check that is already this email is exist in our database. If it is yes, then we need to throw the exception, like you can't use this image because this image is already exist in our database with another account. Okay, so you need to use different email. So let's write that user repository dot find by email. Okay, and here I need to give email. Then if is email is exist email dot is present, actually not equal to null, or maybe equal to not equal to null, that means we found one user with this email. So now we need to throw the exception, throw new user exception, or maybe just exception exception, and email is already used with another account. Okay, so email is already used with another account. So that's it. Now what I need to do is if I didn't found any user with this email, then what I need to do, I need to create new user. So let's do this. So here I will give user and created user equal to new user. Okay, now created user dot set email, and here I need to set email, then created user dot set password. All right, sorry, I need to set here password instead of email. All right, now let's set full name. So created user dot set full name, and that's it. Now guys, there is one more thing. Before setting password in our created user, we need to make it by big crypt. Okay, so how we can do that? So here you can see we have a password encoder. So with the help of password encoder, we'll decrypt our password, then we'll set in our created user object. Okay, so let's do this. Password encoder dot encode, and here we need to give password. Now we are gonna save this created user in our database with the help of user repository. So user saved user equal to user repository dot save created user. That's it. Now we need to create one authentication. So let's create it. Authentication will come from org framework security.core. Okay, authentication equal to new username password authentication token, and here I need to give created user. Okay, let me bring here. Oh, I can't bring here there, so let me do this. Control Z. Alright, so here guys, I need to give email and password. Instead of email and password, I can give saved user as well, so it will automatically detect. Or maybe let's give here email and password, not give this. password. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is let's set this authentication and security context holder. So security context holder dot get context and then set authentication. That's it. Now let's create one token. So string token equal to guys, we have a JWT provider instance. Using this JWT provider instance, actually yeah, JWT provider. So let me make it small. JWT provider dot generate token, and here we need to give authentication. All right. Now we need to create one auth response. So here you can see we have already created auth response. So let me define here auth response. Okay, auth and let me write here response equal to new auth response. Actually auth response. And let me go to auth response response and check how it let me write here no arch constructor as well. Okay, now let's go to auth control auth response auth response. Why it's giving me error? Not understand. Add com.js dependency. Respose. Okay, this is the type of mistake, so yeah, that's why it's coming like this, but no worries. And now what I need to do is I need to set response.jwt inside token and response.set message sign up success. Sign up success. Okay, and now what I need to return here is response, and that's it. Okay, so our sign up method is guys ready. Now we need to define endpoint for our sign up method. So here I will give post mapping because here we are gonna insert one record in our database or maybe creating new user in our database. Okay, that's why we need to give here post mapping. So post mapping, and here I need to define endpoint, though it's gonna be sign up. Okay, sign up. Now let's create one method for a login. So here public, it will also return auth response and sign in handler. Let's write it. Also let's take here a request body. So inside request body guys, we need to take email and password. For this what I'm gonna do is I will make one login request class. Okay, login requests, login request class. Using this login request class will structure username and password. So let's do this. String username. Username will be our email. So first what I'm gonna do, let me create this. Create class login request inside the request folder. Requests. Okay, here I will give two things, email and password, but both will be private, and let me make it private as well. And here I will annotate it with data and all args constructor and no args constructor. So guys, in the data, getter and setter both method will become, okay. We don't need to separately define setter method and separately define getter method. This both will come inside data, right? Now let's use this login request dot get email is our username and password equal to login request dot get password. That's it. Now let me return here null temporary so it won't give me error, and public I have given this login request cannot be resolved as to type. Alright, so let me make it saved and let's save this as well. So yeah, you can see our error is gone. Now let's write it. So here also I need to create authentication. Authentication equal to authenticate. So guys, we don't have this authenticate method, we need to define it. So we'll define it or we'll implement it. Okay. Security context holder so dot get context dot set authentication and authentication. Then let me generate here token. So guys, what I'm gonna do is I can copy this 3 line from here and paste it over here. So that's it. Okay. And now let's create this method. So create method authentication. And now let's remove this because we are returning here a response, so we don't need to return this null. Okay, so that's it. And now let's implement this our authentication. Guys, inside it will return our logic that our password is match or not. We get the user by using this username or not. If we didn't get or didn't found any user with this username, then we'll throw exception. And if we get any user or with this username or email, then what we are gonna do, we'll move to one step next, and then we'll check that this password is match or not. Okay, if password is not match, then we'll again throw the exception, and if password will match, then we'll return authentication. Okay, so let's write here. Now here we are gonna use user details. So user detail service, actually user custom user details. I guess we have custom user details. Yeah. User details. So user details comes from Spring Framework Security Core details, and let's write here user details equal to custom user detail service dot load user by username, and here I need to give user. If he will not able to load any user by this username, then we'll throw the exception. So let's write here if user details equal to null. That means he will not able to load the username by using this username. Sorry, he not able to load the user by using this username. So that's why we are gonna throw here exception. And which exception we'll throw here? Bad credential exception. Let's throw the bad credential exception. Bad credential exception, and here we will pass user not found. User not found. Okay, let's move next. And if he'll be able to load the user, then we'll check its password is match or not. So here not password encoder dot match, we have one method inside this, and this is match. So first guys, we need to give our normal password, and in the second parameter we need to give encoded password, as you can see here. So what is our encoded password? That is nothing but user detail dot get password. Okay, and here you can see if match, so it will return true, but here I have add the not sign. It means now it will return false. So here I'm telling that password encoder dot match is not done, then throw the exception, throw new bad credential exception, bad credential exception. Okay, invalid password, that's it. And if password is also match, then what we need to do is we need to return new username password authentication token. Here we will give user details and null, and here we'll give user details dot get authorities. That's it. So guys, now our sign in method is also done. Now it's time to define endpoints for our sign in method. So it's also gonna be post mapping, because guys we are sending here we are not inserting any data or create new data, but we are taking request body, okay, from the client side. That's why here we need to give post mapping, because if we annotate with its get mapping and we are taking get mapping, then we can't get the request body, okay, from where email and password will come. So that's the problem. That's why in login method also we need to take post mapping, and it's a industry standard approach, so don't worry about that as well. Now let's define here our endpoint, and that is nothing but sign in. Now what I'm gonna do is first guys, I will drop my database. So let me go to my application.properties file and copy my database name, go to MySQL, drop database, and I will give this database name. Okay, you can see query is okay for affected, means my database is now dropped. Now I need to create this database again. So create database, and I will give them name created name, not created. We need to give here create database. Okay, create database, and let's hit enter. So now my database is created. Let me rerun my project. That's it. Now let's go to here. Now instead of this create user, here I will give sign up. Okay, inside this sign up I need to give this these three fields, and also I need to change the endpoint will be auth and sign up. Okay, now let me show you this as well once, so you won't have any confusion in the future. So you can see this is sign up and this is auth, so that's why auth slash sign up. Now let's send, and you can see guys, I have successfully generated token and message that sign up is success. Okay, now let me log in as well. Add requests and login. and instead of sign up, here I need to give sign in. Okay, inside body I will copy this, copy, I will go to row, I will pass this. Now here we don't need full name. Okay, so I will remove it, and let's hit the first, let's change the method name. Okay, now let's hit the send button, and I have get one error. What is this? User repository is null, because this dot user repository is null. Repository dot find by email. Okay, let's go to here. Let's go to our custom user detail service, and here what I need to do, I need to auto wire this user repository. Okay, that's why guys it's giving me the error in the custom user detail service. Guys, see this custom user detail service class properly. If you haven't give here auto wire, then it will give you the error like your repository is null or empty. Okay, now when I send the click on send button, you can see I have get successfully token. My sign up is success, but here I need to give sign in is success instead of sign up. So let me give here sign in success, and let me sign in again. You can see. Okay, now I guess it will work. Okay, sign in success. All right, now there is one more method guys we need to implement is when I provide JWT, it should give me the user details. Okay, whole user it should give me. So what I'm gonna do, let's go to our user service, find user by ID. Instead of find user by ID, here I will write one method, user find user by JWT. Okay, it will take string JWT and throws exception as well. Now let's implement this method, and here using this JWT will find the user. But first guys, we need here JWT provider. So private JWT provider, JWT provider. Okay, and here I will give auto wired. So what I'm gonna do is I will first access the email which I pass inside a JWT. So how can I do that? String email and JWT provider dot get email from JWT token. Okay, let's give here JWT token. Now here I have find the email. Okay, and here I can throw the exception, like if email equal to null, then what I will throw new exception, and that is nothing but please provide a valid email. Okay, of course if we will not found email in this JWT, then there is a problem with JWT. So we need to throw exception like provide a valid email, provide a valid token, valid JWT token. Okay, and if it is not null, then we'll find user by using this email. So we have one method inside user repository, find by email. Okay, if this user is null, let's check. If user equal to null, then what we are gonna do is throw the exception. will throw same exception, provide valid token, or maybe let's define here user not found with email, and let's give here this email. Okay, and if everything will good, then we'll send the user here. Everything is fine, then we'll send the user. Now let's go to user controller. Inside user controller, we need to write this method. So guys, now we don't need this method, so I'm gonna remove this. Also this delete method we don't need, so I will remove it. And get all users, let it be. Or maybe let's remove this as well. Okay, also we don't need user repository. Here we'll use user service. User service. Okay, and let's write our controller for getting user from JWT. So get user, or maybe find user by JWT, and here we need to take JWT. So here we need to define get method instead of post mapping. Endpoint will be API / profile, or maybe user profile. Okay, and guys, the JWT comes from request header. Okay, so what I need to do is let me define here request header, and inside this request header I will access authorization. Okay, inside this authorization we'll find JWT. Don't worry, I will make you understand this as well if you don't understand, if you haven't understand it. Okay, now let's find user equal to user service dot find user by JWT, and return user. And here we need to add declaration, throw declaration. That's it. Okay, now let me once check my endpoint, API users and profile. Yeah, all right guys, now it's time to check our endpoint. This endpoint, like if we provide the JWT, then it's able to give us user or not. So let's check it's working or not. So get user profile, and it's gonna be get mapping, get method. Here we need to define endpoint API / user / profile. Okay, and inside authorization, guys, as you can see here, I have access authorization from request header. Okay, so inside authorization and inside bearer token, I need to give the token. So where this token comes from, inside login method, let me copy this token, and let's go to get user profile and select all, and here I will give my token. When I send it, you can see it's able to give me the password. But there is one problem. I don't want this password here. I want only email, full name and user, because of course guys, in the client side we are not exposing our password. So what we need to do is, let's go to our user model, and here we have one JSON property, JSON property, read only. So access read only, I guess, like this. Okay, access dot read only. Now let's go to here and let's send it. Still there is no any change. JSON property dot access, JSON property, JSON property dot access, like this I need to give. Okay, JSON property access equal to JSON property dot access dot read only. Still it's not working. Actually write only I need to give here, not read only, sorry, write only. Okay, now of course it will work. So you can see now we don't have a password here. Okay, all right guys, now we are gonna make change in our recipe controllers endpoint. So what are those changes? So here you can see guys, if I go to create recipe, okay, and if I want to create new recipe, so I'm please sign in. Okay, it's giving me this error, please sign in. And one more thing guys, here I am giving this user ID from client side, but I don't want to give this user ID. What I will do, whatever JWT provided inside authorization, and from that JWT whatever user backend will get, that user should be set inside this recipe. Okay, so what I mean by that, so let me first give here a JWT token and let me send. Not found, no static resource API recipe user 5.2. So let's go to here and let's go to recipe controller, API recipes actually. Now user not found with ID 52, of course. So let me go to give user ID 1. Okay, you can see my recipe is created, but guys there is a problem. Like if somebody have somebody user's ID, then what it will does, it will pass that user's ID and create recipe by that user, that's user's name, using that user ID. Okay, so we don't want this in our application, because we want to make secure our application. Only those user who have their credential can create recipe by using its ID. Okay, we don't want allow to somebody that he can create a recipe by using somebody else user ID. Okay, so we don't want to allow that kind of behavior in our application. We want to make secure our application. Only those user can create recipe who have a their own JWT token. Okay, so that's why will not give this user from front end side. Now what we are gonna do is, here I will remove this actually, yeah, this as well, and we don't need to give here as well. Now we don't need this path variable. Instead this path variable will access request header, and here will access authorization. Okay, and here we'll access JWT token. Now inside this user service we have find user by JWT, and here we'll give this JWT. That's it. So these changes we are gonna make, guys, for all the methods, okay, which needs a user. So also for liking recipe, user is already logged in, will like. We don't want to give this user ID from client side. Okay, so let me remove this path variable and give this request header. Let me do this, not this user ID. Okay, and let me remove this. Here find by JWT, here I will give JWT. So recipe ID, okay, ID, and this. Yeah guys, make this those changes in your recipe controller. Okay, update. This is for get all recipe, delete recipe, and like recipe. All right, now let's go to here and create recipe. So see, since it will working fine. Now let's like the recipe. So here I need to provide authorization, JWT token. Not found, of course. We need to remove this, and let's hit. You can see inside likes we have 1, and if I run it again, so it will remove like, and it will like. All right guys, so our all the endpoints are working fine. We have tested successfully, and here our backend is over. Okay, now in the next video we'll create front end for our backend.